Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I will be reviewing this Brooks Ghost High Max shoe. Disclaimer, I am not a professional runner. I am no kind of athlete whatsoever. I run simply for fun. So these are the three things that I will be reviewing in this shoe. Is one, why did I go with this shoe out of all the other running shoes out there? Two, who is this shoe good for? And three, is the price tag really worth it? These are $150. That's how much they retail. Is it worth it? I'll let you guys know, so jump right in. So why did I go with the Brooks Ghost Max shoe out of all the running shoes out there? Quick backstory. For the longest time, I've had issues finding proper running shoes or proper workout shoes. My husband has this thing where every year, for my birthday, for Christmas, for all those events, he likes to gift me shoes. All types of shoes. He's given me like the On Clouds, the popular Nikes that are usually out. He'll look up like most trending workout gym shoes for women and he'll buy me that shoe, and I always end up either giving it away, returning it. I store it in the back of the closet, never wear them. Whatever the case is, I do not wear them. They are really cute shoes, but honestly, it's just my feet. They're just not meant for those kind of shoes. So I always complain to him. I tell him like my feet hurt when I put certain shoes on, like the On Clouds that he wears. They're cute. They're generally pretty decent looking shoes, and you could wear them with different outfits. And I would like to put on a pair like that, but when I put them on, they hurt me so bad. Depending on the shoe, right? At least the On Cloud that he has. I know there's so many out there. They hurt me on the sides and they hurt me up here, like where the laces go. So I would tell him like, oh my gosh, I hurt so bad, to the point where as soon as I put my foot, I feel so much pressure. It almost feels like a knife stabbing me right there, like little tiny knives or little pin needles, depending on the shoe, right? I have that problem with so many shoes that this year he decided to stop buying me shoes, because for Christmas he bought me some. I had the same issue, and I was like, look, stop buying me shoes. I will get my own shoes. Don't worry about it. So I decided to get myself a new pair of running shoes because we started running around town. Either we run on concrete or we run on the canal beds. And I noticed I was getting really bad back pains and really bad knee pains, like kind of a weird joint pain. It either hurt after running a few miles or would hurt the next day. So I was like, okay, I'm pretty sure I need a new pair of shoes. I don't know, not necessarily that I didn't want to spend the money on it, but I just didn't want to go out of my way to buy a new pair of shoes. I guess the disappointment of like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna find a pair, it's not gonna fit, I'm not gonna like it, the whole process, right? So what I decided to do this time was something a little different that I never do. I usually order my shoes online, which is probably mistake number one. Don't order your shoes online if you don't know what kind of shoe you need. So this time around, I decided to go to the only shoe store around me that has running shoes that I could try on, which is called Fleet Feet. So I decided to go to Fleet Feet, and you know what? It was a pleasant experience. Let me tell you how it went. As soon as I arrived, they have this thing called Fit ID. It looks almost like a scale, like you to weigh yourself. You take off your shoes, you put your feet on it, you stand on it for a few seconds, maybe a minute or so. It sends a message to the worker on their iPad, and it gives them all this information from there. They're able to see what shoe size you truly are. It tells them how wide your feet really is, how high your arch is on top of your foot. So like this part right here, how high that part is, as well as a image of your Achilles tendon. So it actually shows your Achilles tendon, and then depending on how good the person who is doing your shoe fitting, they can tell you a little bit more about the way you run. Like she was able to tell me that I run a lot on the outside of my feet, so to try to focus more on keeping it straight. The worker went to ask me what kind of runner I was, and from there I explained to her, I am not a runner at all. I just started running. I run about 5 miles when I do. 5 miles non-stop, but not a really fast pace. I run pretty slow. And she said, okay, and then what kind of surface do you run on? So I told her mainly, which is, I know it's not good, but mainly concrete because it's what I have around me. And she recommended I run more on like canal beds or find a track at a school, which is what I am doing now. So from then on, she went to the back and brought out a few different pairs of shoes. She brought out 4 different pairs of shoes. And that went based off the Fit ID. The Fit ID told her that had an extra wide foot. Extra wide, not just wide. So it rates you from like small, medium, large, or little, middle, high type of thing. And I was on the high, like there's no more it can go, right? The meter's like extra wide. No lying about that. My arch, it goes the same thing, small, middle, high. I was on the high, so my foot is super arch. And I knew that because one, you can see it, you can visibly see, you know, when a foot is arch. But two, whenever I put on the shoe, I feel that pain right here. It's literally like hurting me right here. It feels so tight. And my wide foot as well, I feel the pressure on the sides on most shoes. And when a shoe is too narrow, you can actually see your feet almost like wanting to pour out of the shoe. But one thing that I did learn was my shoe size. So one foot, I was a size 6, and the other foot, I was a size 6.5. And for my shoe size, I've been wearing a 6.5 up until today. So one tip that she did tell me is that you do always want to size up for a running shoe or a workout shoe because your feet swell. And when your feet swell, if you're wearing a size 6.5 and you are a 6.5, you leave no room for movement, no room for your toes to breathe when it's swelling. And that's when you can get all those kind of like bunions and feet issues, you know. Just imagine it's tiny if you want to move. But when you have a bigger shoe, you avoid those kind of issues. So she said you're safer having a bigger shoe than having a tight shoe. A tight shoe, you will almost always encounter some kind of issue, versus a big shoe, you won't go through that problem. So she encouraged me to get a size 7.5 shoe, an extra wide shoe, and because of my arch, a shoe with really high support, or putting some inserts, some insole. Okay, so out of the 4 shoes she brought out to me, I already knew because they are so popular. They are everywhere at the moment, the Hokas. Might be pronouncing that wrong. Excuse me, I'm not sure how to pronounce it, but that's the first shoe she brought out. It was a Hoka, and then it was the Brooks, the second one. Then she brought out a New Balance shoe, and one, a Kura. I'm gonna look that up. Those were the 4 pairs of shoes she brought out. So what I did, I put them on, both on. I walked around the store one at a time, and right away you get a feel of what you like, what you don't like. One, I noticed my feet were so much more free wearing the extra wide, because with the Hokas, I'm not sure if with the Hokas, but for sure with the Brooks, they have an extra wide shoe. They have a normal, a wide, and an extra wide. So I felt like my feet were just swimming around in there. It was definitely different. Also, something different for me is the rocking effect. How they're not like completely straight. I'm used to like a straight shoe. So the Hokas were big in that. So were these, and the New Balance a little bit. The Kurus did not have that effect. So that's something I was like, oh, I don't know if I'm gonna like that, you know? I don't know if I can get used to that. The New Balance, I was like, nah, not gonna work for me. I just didn't like how they looked, not quite how they felt either. So it's between the Hokas and these. The Kurios were good, but I think it just wasn't enough cushion. I was looking for more support because I'm just strictly gonna use them for running, so I don't care how they look necessarily. So strictly for running, and I knew I needed that real, you know, the real cushion, the real support every time I take my steps, because I feel like I stomp a lot when I run. So between those two, and from those two, I decided to go with the Brooks because I really did like the mesh it has. I've always liked a meshy shoe. I just feel like the breathable of it, and I'm guessing the way my foot was swimming around, I really did enjoy. Honestly, I prefer how they look. So when you get a regular with shoe, there are a lot of color options. There's like the grays, the corals, the black. There's a lot more options. When you go down to the wide, there's about 4 or 5 options. But you went down to the extra wide, there are only like 2 color options. I wasn't sure what color to go with because I've always liked a white shoe. I always pick a white shoe. But since I knew I was going to be using these strictly for running outside, and I now run outside in canal beds and mud and dirt, I go through the parks, I was like, okay, they're gonna get dirty and I don't want to be washing it so frequently. I ended up ordering the same Brooks Ghost Max in wide, not extra wide. I just felt like the extra wide was gonna be too much for me, even though she did recommend it for me. And she said I could go with either 7 or 7.5, and I went with a 7.5 just in case I give it more room to move around. Mind you, I was wearing a 6.5 before this. It was every shoe. I always wear a 6.5. So that is how I chose this Brooks Ghost Max shoe. Is this shoe good for? I would say this shoe is good for anybody who walks, anybody who runs, anybody who likes to work out outdoors or anything like that, but nothing crazy. If you're doing super high impact crazy, it is not the most supportive in that sense. It's supportive as in it has really good cushion. I did not buy inserts or insoles, even though they were recommended to me. They were another $100, so I was like, you know what, let me try them out without it and see how they are. And they've been great. I love them. So I would say someone with a very wide foot, because they have that option of wide and extra wide. So if you have the chubby toes, or you have the, you know, your toes are a little more separated, or just wider feet in general, this shoe is for you. High arch, for you, right here. Literally, my people, the wide feet, high arch, these are for you. And these are great for the summer because of the mesh, the breathable mesh. It makes it like not a hot shoe. And there's like a lot of shoes that are more leathery outside. They just get so hot right away. So definitely for anyone in that field. So these shoes are not for the gym. Unless you're running on the treadmill or doing something of that sort, upper body or something like that. But no weight training, nothing like that where you're putting weight on yourself, because all the cushion that's here, it's just gonna, you know, no support in that sense. So I wouldn't use it for that. Other than that, it is a very good high quality shoe, very comparable I would say to the Hoka's, even though I didn't wear those long term. Just walking around, I was able to feel or like that. And they say you can't leave a good review unless you've worn them at least 75 miles. For sure, I've used them that much. I've used them for over 2 months now. I can see these being good shoes for running longer distance. I run about 5-7 miles now non-stop, and I can see how it has really helped me take pressure off my knees and off my back. And is the price tag really worth it? $150. I would say it is. It is worth it because it's very comparable to all the other shoes. I mean, Brooks has been around forever, so it's a really reliable brand, and it's really looks like a shoe that's gonna hold up for a very long time. So I've only had it for 2 months, but so far they're doing great. They're holding off just fine, and a good amount of miles in them already, and nothing. I haven't noticed any kind of deterioration like other shoes that I've worn before that right away you can notice. Otherwise, it is a great shoe, and I would totally recommend for anyone starting off on the running journey, or even just as an everyday walking kind of shoe. Have a good day, guys.